My husband stood in court and asked for a divorce. My 8-year-old daughter stood up next. She looked at the judge and said, "Can I show you something you don't know, Your Honor?" And everything changed. The courtroom in Phoenix, Arizona was quiet. Too quiet. I sat on the wooden bench, my hands shaking in my lap. Across from me sat my husband, Michael Reynolds. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at our daughter either. He only looked at his lawyer. Michael and I had been married for 11 years. We had one child, Emma Reynolds. She was 8 years old. Smart. Quiet. Always watching. Michael used to call her his little shadow. But shadows disappear when the light moves away. 3 months ago, Michael came home late. Again. "I want a divorce," he said flatly. No explanation. No discussion. Just papers. He also wanted full custody. That hurt more than the divorce. Michael's lawyer spoke smoothly. "Mr. Reynolds believes the child would be better off in his care," she said. I felt my throat tighten. Better off? With a man who barely came home? They said I was unstable. That I was emotional. That I couldn't provide a structured home. Michael nodded along. I wanted to scream. But I stayed silent. Because Emma was listening. Emma sat beside me. Her feet didn't touch the floor. She held something in her hands. A small tablet. I whispered, "Emma, sweetheart." She squeezed my fingers. "I'm okay, Mommy," she whispered back. As the judge prepared to speak, Emma stood up. The bailiff frowned. The judge looked surprised. "Young lady," the judge said gently. "Please sit down." Emma didn't. She looked straight at him. Her voice didn't shake. "Can I show you something you don't know, Your Honor?" The courtroom froze. The judge hesitated. Then slowly nodded. "You may," he said. Emma walked toward the front, holding the tablet. Michael's face went pale. The judge nodded. And my 8-year-old daughter pressed play. The bailiff brought a small screen forward. Emma stood on her toes so she could reach it. Her hands were steady. Mine were not. Michael finally looked at her. For the first time that day, fear crossed his face. The video began. It showed our living room. Familiar. Ordinary. Then Emma's small voice came from the speakers. "Daddy, you said Mommy isn't safe." "Why?" A murmur ran through the courtroom. Michael's lawyer shifted in her chair. Michael's voice followed. Clear. Sharp. Cold. "Because your mom cries too much," he said. "And judges don't like weak moms." My chest tightened. I had never heard him talk like that. Not out loud. On the video, Emma asked quietly, "If Mommy is weak, why do you yell at her?" Silence filled the courtroom. Michael's voice came again. "Don't say that," he snapped. "This is just between us." The judge leaned forward. The video continued. Michael sat on the couch, rubbing his temples. "If you want to live with me," he said, "you don't tell Mommy about this." Gasps echoed through the room. I covered my mouth. Emma stood very still. "That video is taken out of context," Michael shouted. The judge raised a hand. "You will not interrupt," he said firmly. Michael's face turned red. For the first time. He looked like the man I knew at home. The judge looked at Emma gently. "Why did you record this, sweetheart?" he asked. Emma swallowed. "Because Daddy said Mommy wouldn't believe me," she said. "And because Mommy always tells me the truth matters." Tears filled my eyes. The judge paused the video. "This court needs to see the rest," he said. Michael's lawyer leaned toward him and whispered urgently. Michael shook his head. Too late. The judge thought he had seen enough. He was wrong. Emma tapped the screen again. "This is the other one," she said softly. Michael shot up from his chair. "There is no other one," he shouted. The judge slammed his gavel. "Sit down. Now." Michael froze. The courtroom felt smaller. The screen showed our kitchen. It was late. I recognized the date immediately. It was the night I worked a double shift at the hospital. Emma had stayed home with her father. The camera angle was low. Hidden. Michael stood near the counter, angry. "You're making me look bad," he said to Emma in the video. "I didn't do anything," Emma's small voice replied. "You don't have to," Michael snapped. "You just have to remember who's in charge." A sharp intake of breath rippled through the courtroom. Emma in the video started crying. "I want mommy," she whispered. Michael's voice hardened. "If you keep crying," he said, "the judge will send you away from her forever." I gasped. My legs felt weak. That was the night Emma slept in my arms without telling me why. The judge stopped the video himself. His expression was no longer calm. "This is serious," he said slowly. Michael's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, children misunderstand." The judge raised his hand. "No," he said. "They remember." The judge looked at my daughter. "Emma," he said gently, "did your father ever tell you not to tell your mother things?" Emma nodded. "All the time," she said. Michael dropped his head. "Why didn't you tell your mom?" the judge asked. Emma's voice shook for the first time. "Because Daddy said if I did," she whispered, "Mommy would lose me." The courtroom was silent. Even Michael's lawyer had nothing to say. The judge leaned back in his chair. "This court will take a short recess," he said. Michael finally looked at me. For the first time. He looked afraid. The recess was only 15 minutes. But in those 15 minutes, my husband destroyed himself. The courtroom emptied slowly. Lawyers whispered. People stared. Emma held my hand tightly. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked softly. I knelt in front of her. "No, sweetheart," I said, holding back tears. "You were very brave." Across the room, Michael stood in a corner with his lawyer. He was angry. Not scared yet. Angry. Michael didn't notice the court clerk standing nearby. He didn't notice the microphone on the lawyer's table. He leaned toward his lawyer and hissed. "She had no right to record me. I'll make sure that kid never sees her again." The clerk's eyes widened. She quietly pressed a button. When court resumed, the judge's voice was colder. "Before we continue," he said, "the court has something to address." Michael straightened, confident again. The judge nodded to the clerk. A recording played through the speakers. Michael's voice echoed in the room. Clear. Angry. Threatening. The same sentence. The same words. Michael's face drained of color. Michael's lawyer slowly stood. "Your Honor," she said carefully, "I need to speak with my client." The judge shook his head. "No," he replied. "You may sit." She did. But she didn't look at Michael anymore. The judge folded his hands. "Mr. Reynolds," he said, "this court does not look kindly on emotional manipulation." Michael opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "Forcing a child to fear a parent," the judge continued, "is abuse." The word hit the room like thunder. Abuse. Emma raised her hand again. The judge smiled sadly. "Yes, Emma." She looked at her father. "Daddy," she asked, "why did you want to take me away from Mommy if you knew it would hurt me?" Michael's mouth trembled. He had no answer. The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Reynolds," he said gently, "the court sees you." Tears streamed down my face. I nodded. For the first time in months. Someone believed me. The judge picked up his pen. "This court is ready to rule," he said. Michael's hands shook. Emma squeezed mine. The judge didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Every word landed like a hammer. The judge looked directly at Michael. "Mr. Reynolds," he said, "this case is no longer about divorce alone." Michael swallowed hard. "It is about the safety and emotional well-being of a child." Emma leaned against me. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. "Based on the evidence presented," the judge continued, "this court finds your behavior manipulative and harmful." Michael's lawyer lowered her eyes. "For that reason," the judge said, "your request for full custody is denied." A quiet gasp filled the courtroom. Michael's head snapped up. "What?" he blurted. The judge held up a hand. "I am not finished." Emma whispered, "Mommy." "Yes, baby," I whispered back. Her shoulders relaxed for the first time in months. She had been carrying fear far too heavy for an 8-year-old. "Effective immediately," the judge said. "Mr. Reynolds will have supervised visitation only." Michael stood up. "You can't do this," he shouted. The bailiff stepped forward. The judge's voice was firm. "I already have." Michael sat back down, defeated. The judge turned his chair slightly. Emma, he said gently. I want you to know something. She looked up at him with wide eyes. You did the right thing, he said. You were very brave. Emma nodded slowly. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Happy tears. The judge signed the final papers. The divorce is granted, he said. Primary custody is awarded to the mother. My legs nearly gave out. I pressed my forehead against Emma's hair. We had survived. As people began to stand, Michael suddenly spoke. This isn't over, he said bitterly, staring at me. The judge looked up sharply. It is for today, he said. And I strongly advise you to reflect on that. Michael stormed out of the courtroom. Alone. As we gathered our things, the judge added one final sentence. Mrs. Reynolds, he said. There is one more matter we need to discuss privately. My heart skipped a beat. Emma looked up at me. The courtroom was almost empty when the judge called my name again. I thought the hardest part was over. I was wrong. The judge asked the bailiff to escort us into a smaller room behind the courtroom. Emma held my hand tightly. Michael wasn't there. Just us. The judge removed his glasses and sighed. Mrs. Reynolds, he said. I've been doing this job for over 20 years. I listened quietly. And I don't often see a child speak the truth so clearly. He slid a thin folder across the table. This, he said, was submitted earlier this morning. I opened it. My hand shook. Inside were school reports, counselor notes, and a child psychologist's evaluation. Emma's drawings. Her anxiety. Her fear. All documented. My chest ached. I didn't even know this existed, I whispered. The judge nodded. Children often speak when adults finally listen. Because of this, the judge continued. I am ordering mandatory parenting classes and psychological evaluation for Mr. Reynolds. He paused. If he fails to comply, visitation will be suspended entirely. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Safety. The judge turned to Emma. Emma, he said softly. I want you to remember something. She looked up. You are never responsible for an adult's bad behavior. Emma nodded slowly. Then she smiled. A real smile. The kind I thought we'd lost forever. When we stepped outside the courthouse, the sun was shining. Emma took a deep breath. Mommy, she said. It feels like I can breathe again. I knelt and hugged her tightly. So can I whispered. Months passed. Our home became peaceful. No yelling. No fear. Emma slept through the night again. She started drawing happy pictures. I started smiling without forcing it. Michael attended his supervised visits quietly. Different. Smaller. One evening, Emma sat beside me on the couch. Mommy, she said. Do you think I was brave? I kissed her forehead. I think you saved both of us. Sometimes justice doesn't come from loud arguments. Sometimes it comes from a child telling the truth. And sometimes, the smallest voice in the room changes everything. If this story moved you, like to support brave children everywhere. Comment if you believe truth always finds a way. Subscribe for more powerful real-life inspired stories. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most.